Hi, it's Corey with Food and Flourish, and in studio today I'm joined by Chef Chris Darrow
Yes.
and wine director Matt Elliott with Mastro's Restaurants here in Scottsdale. Thank you for joining me today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
Now, I wanted to bring you guys in because there's a lot of entertaining going on with the holiday season,
Right.
and a lot of people obviously will have wine readily available, but you can use this in a way to enhance your food very much for entertaining.
Oh yeah, of course.
So
of course.
you've brought some beautiful dishes here
I
so,
did.
that are actually served at your restaurant.
Yes,
And you used wine to enhance the flavors in these dishes.
I did.
So if you can kind of go through what these are and then maybe some of the methods on what you did to make the flavors really come through.
Well, we'll start off with our shrimp scampi here. What I did was we have huge sevens. They're jumbo shrimps, and then I just put a little bit of butter, garlic, and then flashed it with a little bit of white wine, a Chardonnay. And I like to do that because the Chardonnay actually brings out the shrimp flavor. It's fresh, as well as it keeps it nice and moist, and it's very, very good.
And for a light, more delicate seafood, you want to go with a more crisp white wine, pairing the flavors of the wine with the type of food. You wouldn't put a heavy Cabernet with the shrimp
No,
scampi.
and he's
Okay.
100% correct on that.
Okay.
And then the second one we have here is our sea bass, oregonata, which is our breadcrumbs. And then what I did was I actually seasoned it with a little bit of salt and pepper, and then I braised it in some white wine and some butter. And again, that really brings out the flavor as well as especially with the sea bass. You can cook it for a long time. That's what you want. And what it does is it just keeps it so moist. So when you dig right into it, you take that first bite, all the juices are running, all the flavors are running. You can taste the wine. So I mean, it really pops.
Okay.
And that's a Chardonnay as well.
And when pairing with something like a sea bass, where it has a higher fat content, you want something, again, you want the acidity to go with it.
Oh.
Similar to the type of wine that you pair with this dish would be the same type of wine that you would want to cook with it.
Oh,
So
okay.
acid is going to cut through that fat and be very very great with it.
Yeah, it breaks it down. It breaks down the connective tissues. It just makes it really tender, very enjoyable. The third dish we have here is our lobster tail,
Looks
which,
delicious.
you know what, I'm hungry right now too. Our lobster tail, it's similar as a sea bass. I used a white wine, braised that maybe 5 to 8 minutes in the broiler, and then a little bit of paprika, salt, pepper, and just a dash of butter on top.
Ooh.
And I'll tell you what, if you're a lobster lover, you need to come see us at Mastro's because we really know how to do it.
Absolutely. And with something like a lobster tail, where it's going to be very rich, you can get into more of a heavier American oaked or French oaked Chardonnay, possibly from California, because the buttery flavors are going to help each other out.
And that's exactly correct because I did use the Chardonnay because when I taste the Chardonnay, it finishes with a buttery taste, so it really pairs well with a lobster or seafood.
Okay.
And last but not least is our 18-ounce prime bone-in filet, which is just a star on its own. I made a actually red wine Bordelais sauce. It took a little time, but we put a little love into it. It's beautiful. And what I did with that is just the red wine Bordelais. It's got some herby, fresh flavors, and the red wine brings out that kind of earthy taste
Right.
with the beef, and it really goes good. It really goes well.
Well, they look really good.
And the bone actually helps out quite a bit with the flavoring too as well.
Really? Oh.
Yes.
One other point to be made is that you could be enjoying this great fillet with a very high-end Cabernet. You don't necessarily need to take that high-end Cabernet and use that for the cooking. You want something similar, and you don't want the lowest tier wine, but you don't have to go and break the bank at the store to use wine for cooking.
Right.
And not to mention, you can have that glass of wine as you are doing the cooking. So keep that in mind.
That's a fun way to cook.
Yeah.
Cook with wine.
I think too that, and I think Matt would agree with me 100% on this, is that every bottle of wine has its own story. So you have to, you really got to dig in and find something that you really like to cook with, you'd like to drink with, and you'll find yourself with tremendous flavors.
Go ahead.
Another great point is, as we get into the holiday season, we have those Thanksgiving dinners and big Christmas dinners. Everybody tends to pack on the pounds. Another great thing with with cooking with wine is not only are you adding those extra flavors, but you're going to cut out some of that butter, oils, and you also get the added health values that comes with having a little bit of wine.
Yes.
So you can substitute it rather than adding it with all those ingredients.
Yeah, you substitute. I mean, don't use a lot of fats.
Right.
Add a little wine to it, and it will make it healthier, a lot more flavor, and you'll actually notice the difference.
Well, when you make things like marinades, I mean, is it like half oil, half wine? You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
does it fully?
well, that's gonna, I think, come down to the individual palate. You know, my best recommendation is to experiment, try new things. You know, go half and half to start, and if you like that flavor that you're picking up from the wine, then you can just experiment. It's fun.
Yeah.
Is it too much to serve it with the wine that you cooked with?
Well, again, absolutely not.
Okay.
You want, I think, for the steak, for example, he's going to cook that with a Cabernet. Like I mentioned earlier, you don't necessarily want to use a high-end Cabernet to cook with it, but yeah, absolutely, you may drink the same wine. That's going to pair nicely with it as well. And not to mention, having that one glass of wine, they recommend one glass of wine to ferment a day, has much added health benefits. You know,
Heart healthy too.
Heart cuts down the chances of cancers, certain cancers, osteoporosis in women. Keeps your bones dense, so there's
Do it for your health.
Absolutely.
Just kidding.
Absolutely.
While enjoying it at the same time.
Yeah.
Great. Well, and again, you can get any of these dishes at your restaurant. Now, you have 3 different locations
Yes, we
here. Okay. The one that we're talking about with these particular dishes is that at the steakhouse.
No, this is Mastro City Hall Steakhouse, Camelback and Goldwater Boulevard. We also have a location in Kierland, which is our Ocean Club, and then we have the steakhouse, the original steakhouse, Pinnacle Peak and Pima Road.
Great. Well, you guys have been very helpful.
Well, thank
I'll have
you.
to use some of these tips. Now, I'm not so intimidated to get in the kitchen with a bottle of wine.
Right.
So, thank you so much for
You're
being
welcome.
here today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So much for having us.